Welcome to the Church Solutions Podcast, brought to you by JSL Solutions. The Church Solutions Podcast is designed to help equip you and your church in the use of technology and other tools and services. And now, here are your hosts, Steve Lacey and Phil Thompson.
Hey, thanks for joining us, folks, for another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast. My name is Phil Thompson.
And I'm Steve Lacey.
One of these days, I'm going to ask you a different question and see if you still respond
I
with,
don't know.
"Hi, I'm Steve Lacey."
I might.
I think you did that one time, didn't you?
I might.
All right. Well, we are here today, as we normally are on a weekly podcast. We are a company called JSL Solutions, and we help churches and ministries use technology to reach their purposes, and not just all churches. Most of our clients are churches and ministries. We have a few that aren't, right?
That aren't ministry. I don't know.
Do we?
We may. We have in the past, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, we're here to help you, and we talk about tech-related things most of the time. And this one is kind of a techie subject. Sometimes we talk about other things like leadership topics and I don't know, vacations or whatever. But today we're going to talk about
The top 10 things that your congregation hates about your website.
Things that your congregation hates. Are we allowed to use that word, hate?
Yes.
Hates about your church website. Well, maybe they don't hate it, but they might strongly dislike it. Certain things. Or at least
Some of these push my buttons, I know that. And we visit a lot of church websites.
we visit a lot of church websites. So it's not just your congregation we're talking about here this morning or today. It would be maybe people visiting, going to visit your website.
Yeah.
Maybe going to check out your church or whatever. And so these are some things you might want to keep in mind. Maybe you might want to make some changes, or maybe you just think we're out to lunch and you can tell us that. We'll give you an email address. It'll be Steve's email.
Yes.
You can complain about it. All right.
So jumping in. Number 1 is long narrative paragraphs.
Long narrative paragraphs. So, you know, when people are going to your website, and this would certainly, I think, apply maybe more so to other people, maybe not your congregation, but maybe other people that are visiting your website that maybe aren't members or just checking your church out. They're looking for just some quick answers usually. Most people are looking for, they're not looking for long, drawn out, long paragraphs and things that they'll just get bored reading.
Yes.
Most people aren't.
So the culture has changed of just about everybody. I mean, it's probably over the past 10, definitely 20 years. People used to read, and people don't read anymore.
Yeah, we found that out with our company. Some of our clients don't read.
Anyway, aside from that, we do. I mean, people don't read; they skim. So, especially on the web, you're skimming. You're loading something and you're skimming. You're not reading it like you would read a newspaper or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you probably ought to edit your page down. Some experts, whoever they are, say you should probably edit your pages down to about 50 words. It's not a lot.
Or less. And then create highly visual alerts within, bulleted lists or bold headlines that separate content that has a sentence or two in it. Is kind of the trend these days. So wordy is no longer in.
Wordy is not in.
Especially if you're looking for something, which most people are when they're searching on the web. They want to find out something quick.
Yeah. So try to get rid of the long narrative paragraphs.
All right. Number 2 on our list.
Many clicks to find information. So this comes down to most people click, according to the experts again, whoever they are, and I would tend to agree with this, by the way. Most people tend to click about 3 times in a website before leaving. So nobody likes, and again, this is, getting back to what you just mentioned, the trends have changed, and people don't like to click on multiple links to try to find an answer. They're looking for something specific, service times, upcoming events, directions.
Yeah, this reminds me of, I got some good advice actually many years ago when I was advertising in a card deck. You've seen those card decks that go out in the mail?
No, tell me about it. What is it?
Well,
I'm not sure I follow you.
they're a stack of cards, and then they send them to ministries. Different companies send them, either ministries or you get them in your just regular home mail. And the advice I was given was you need to communicate exactly what you offer and what you're about in 4 seconds or less. And that was kind of being generous. Because people are flipping the cards, and the card needs to immediately scream, oh, I sell church buses, I do pews, I do, whatever it may be. Yeah. And I had a real challenge because we were doing, at the time, 15 years ago, a social network for churches.
Right.
And they were saying, nobody knows what that is. So it was going to be challenging. Said, need to. So anyway, keep it short, and then don't make people hunt around to find what they're looking for.
Yeah, if you can give them like specific information on the homepage if possible, like the service times, directions, special event coming up. I would suggest, we're a company that provides streaming video. I would suggest that you make somewhere there a link on that homepage that says watch service live. Or watch the archives, somewhere where it's nicely placed.
Yeah, there's a top 6, 5, whatever it is that each church website should have. Yeah. And we're not going to go through those here, but you can Google those. And so you should have quick, easy access for all those main items on your front page.
All right. So stay away from long narrative paragraphs. Please try to keep the clicks to a very minimal. People hate having to click lots of places. And the third point is?
Complexity.
So nobody wants to go to your church website and discover this complex, cluttered, busy, layered design.
Flashing items.
Yeah. They want simplicity, peace and progress. And so the idea here is to flatten out your graphics, use maybe a simple color palette, these things that are flashing and stuff. This is no longer 2001, it's 2016. And so people they want something simple and nice to read. So
you've seen the trend in website design too has gotten more and more simple. Yeah. As people read and read less.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. All right, so as we continue on this little list of things people hate about your website, here's a good one. Takes forever to load.
Yeah, so number 4.
Takes forever to load. So we got some stats here, but, again, along these lines of shortening attention spans, there are people, clicking their phones all the time and doing things really quick. But when it comes to waiting for websites to load, according to a Kissmetrics report, 47% of consumers expect a web page to load in 2 seconds or less. And 40% abandoned the website if it took more than 3 seconds to load.
Yeah. It's amazing looking at load time factors because, the slower your page loads, the less viewers you're going to have that are going to stick around. Yeah. And people think, it took another half second to load, but it's important to make sure your page loads quickly.
And isn't there like a website? Can you go somewhere to see how fast your page loads?
Yeah. There's Which Loads Faster.
Which Loads Faster. So you can compare?
You can do a race. You can maybe go to a site that is out there and is very popular and put that on one side and then put your URL on the other side, and it will determine how long it took to load each page and show you which is faster.
So it's the Olympics.
It's the Olympics. Yes, I've used it a few times. It's actually really interesting.
I think you can load. I've used it too, and I think you can actually ask it to do like multiple tests all at once or something, right? So
you can have it run for quite a while, and that sort of thing.
So what is the URL for that?
It's whichloadsfaster.com.
Whichloadsfaster.com.
Yes, I'm going off of memory, so yes, right. I'm pretty sure that is
probably if you Google it.
Yes, it will take you to there as well. Yeah. What's interesting is the stats of the 2 second thing has been around since the late 90s.
Okay.
They said your page should load in less than 2 seconds, but back then everyone was on dial-up.
Right.
And so you had a text-rich page that would load in 2 seconds. You couldn't load images, and especially large images.
Okay.
But today the world has changed. So everybody's on broadband. Things are quicker. So, but the time hasn't changed. But what you can get onto the page has dramatically increased.
So, yeah, it really has. So, in this, again, they say that even a 1 second delay decreases customer satisfaction by 16%. So there you go. The other thing, too, they've got here, according to a Ericsson study, Ericsson, I guess is how you say it, the longer it takes a website to load, the more website visitors blame the content provider instead of their mobile service providers. So even if your website's well done, I guess, and maybe the problem is the mobile service provider, they're still going to blame you.
Yeah, that's true.
So just keep that in mind. I don't know, but it does frustrate people. And again, we mentioned this is things the congregation hates, but I think this also crosses over into people, scanning and looking for a church, looking at newer people.
And there's things you can do to optimize your page load time. There's resources on the web. Typically, it is taking these large image files and other elements and optimizing them for the web. So a lot of times people will say, I took this great picture on my camera, I want to stick it on the web, and don't realize that is not optimized for the web. So there's tools out there, and there's actually websites other than which loads faster that will give you tips. There's actually tools built into your browser, the developer tools. In Chrome, it's called Inspect, and you can look at the network traffic, and it will show how many milliseconds it took to load everything, every separate thing that's on your page.
Wow, that's impressive.
So there's some tools you can use to optimize your site and make it load quicker.
All right. Well, let's move on here. Another thing that people hate about your website.
And this is probably my number one pet peeve.
I'll let you address it and then go ahead.
Yeah, so it's where you have multimedia that loads and auto plays as you load the page.
Nice.
Whether it's a video or an audio segment or your favorite song.
Yeah.
And I mean, this was really cool a long time ago, but now it's just really annoying for people.
Right.
They were talking about here on our notes about it's not work safe. You're loading a site and everyone's turning around going, why wouldn't he just load?
Right. Yeah.
And you're scrambling to figure out, how do I turn this thing off?
How do I mute this thing? Okay. Yeah. So
the quickest way is to leave that website.
Yeah, you're basically forcing your visitors to listen to this thing, whatever it might be, or hear it or see it or whatever it is. So it's kind of rude, and it's like you said, it's pretty much gone now. I think it was popular in the late '90s or early 2000s.
Oh, there are some churches that, bless you. Yeah. There are some churches that are still doing it.
Oh yeah,
mainly with audio.
Yeah, we still
and some with video where they'll start videos playing.
Yeah. Some of our clients still do that, I think.
Yeah, there may be. So if you're out there, it is a really annoying thing. You can offer the option for the music or the video, but make it optional for the person. They can actually click on the play video or the play button in order to make it happen.
So that it's not autoplay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's move on here to point number 6 here as we continue to discuss what people strongly dislike about websites. And this one is, I can see the reason for this next one, but it's still kind of annoying for a lot of people. And that is, you have a contact form on your website, so that's good, but no additional contact information. So it's a contact us, you can click on that. We have that on our website as well. And it seems like an easy way to generate like a mail list as well. You can get an email list from this if you wanted to do that. But it doesn't really, it's just so generic, and there's no way somebody can. Well,
the big constraint is it channels, the ones that channel your contact through that one avenue.
Right.
So it's, you want to talk to us or have any communication with us, you got to fill out this form, and we'll decide whether we got it or whether we'll get back to you. Right. And so there's there's no way to
right.
get a hold of anyone more quickly than them processing, overnight emails or something.
Right.
So that's what frustrates me. I'd like to see a phone number, a
real email address.
Yes,
but
or an email address, or something other than having to fill out the form.
But also, I mean, the reason most people are doing this contact form deal is spam, right?
Yeah, they want to eliminate their people that are contacting them.
Well, I mean, but it does filter spam, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes, it did. That's probably why most people do it.
That's why most people do it.
Yeah, they put the form in and they'll make you fill out a CAPTCHA in order to talk to them to make sure you're human. I don't know. It's just a pet peeve of mine, I guess, as well.
Well, but I can see that. I mean, if you, all right, well, let's move on then, I guess. So, all right. So here's my pet peeve. The next one, point number 7, and what people don't like about websites, church websites, is many do not clearly explain what your church actually believes. And so, there's lots of different kinds of churches out there, different theologies, different beliefs. That's all fine and dandy. And what I'm saying here in this point is you don't have to get, we just said at the very beginning, you don't want some long, drawn-out, multiple paragraph deal. So I understand that. So it may sound like I'm contradicting myself here, but somehow or another, you need to kind of clearly explain what your church believes, certain points.
Probably doesn't belong on the front page, but an avenue to get to it. I think this was one of the top 6 things that your church website needs.
Yeah, and I understand you can get really deep, and I'm not saying you have to get that much, but you need to give people a quick idea, maybe some points,
right?
Just what you think about the Bible, what you think about God, or whatever, salvation,
the Trinity,
maybe even if you are part of a denomination, some churches don't do that. What I think is kind of funny is there are churches out there that are part of a denomination, but some of them want to hide that. And so I was like, well, okay. If you're ashamed to be a part of whatever the denomination is, maybe you shouldn't be a part of it. I don't know. It's just that's my pet peeve there. But what I'm to simply say is sometimes we've tried to be so seeker-sensitive and seeker-friendly to people that we kind of feel like if we just kind of can get them to come, then life will be good. But a lot of times, if you don't explain who you really are and what you believe, people are going to show up if they show up, and then they're going to get a total surprise. The snakes come out or something. I'm exaggerating here, although there are churches that do snake handling, but what I'm getting at is things come out and all of a sudden like, whoa, I didn't know these guys did this in their church services, Right. I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess a corollary to that would be, and a lot of churches do this, is have, kind of a what to expect page as well.
That would be probably pretty good. That would be a good balance there, I think.
Yeah.
For that. So,
Because as I think I've mentioned on this podcast before, but one of my good friends was reaffirming to me that the most uncomfortable time he's ever had in his life was in a church service.
Yeah.
And he happened to come to a church service that was not consistent with his comfort levels. So
Yep. And that happens a lot of times. All right. So try to get that out there on your website somewhere without making it real long.
Yes. All right. So number 8 on our list.
All right. Missing social sharing buttons on your content or in your website. So I think, because we're in the age of social media, Facebook, Twitter, especially for visitors to your website, but even regular attenders, of your church. I mean, if you got a Facebook site, which you probably should, a Facebook page, you should probably make sure people can get to that. And because I have found, I don't know about you, but I have found with my church's website, most of our regular members don't usually go there. They just go to our Facebook page. And we're honestly updating our Facebook page 3 or 4 times a week. Whereas the website, we update it maybe once a week. So I think, putting your social media out there, buttons, and I think it's a good thing to do.
I would put this in the good thing to do. I don't really, for me, I'm like, I didn't find a Twitter or a Facebook button on their site. That doesn't get me too excited, but it was in our top 10. So
right, yeah. So, but that's where people are at today. And again, we're talking not just members of your congregation, but people that are visiting.
Right.
Anyhow, all right.
So number 9, and this is kind of related to one of our earlier ones, right?
Yes, it does.
Displays image sliders that take forever to load.
So you pretty much covered that. There's ways you can, compress those files or something?
Yes.
And make it so they're much more loadable, quickly loadable. But there are people that have all these and sliders are kind of the way to go, I guess, today.
Very popular.
So, but you just got to have the right ones on there. And you got to have the right. They've just got to be able to load, because if they take forever to load, then you've lost people. We already covered that. So, the longer it takes. We just said this, but the longer a web page takes to load, the more people will abandon it. So you want to make sure it loads quickly, and not get bogged down into a pretty slider that's so large, it doesn't work.
All right, have we reached the last?
The last point.
Which is non-mobile format.
So it's not mobile friendly. And we've talked about this before on the podcast, but there's a large majority of Americans are using mobile devices now. And actually in other countries, the percentage is even larger.
Oh, yeah.
So, they're looking for mobile friendly websites. They want to have quick access to your website from their mobile device. So they want to be able to get to the content, using their phone, using their tablet. So you and I need to make sure our websites are responsive so that the size of the screen determines.
Yeah, and this,
go ahead.
It's going to reinforce our other points that we've covered a couple of times. Is you're loading this over a 3G data network. It's got to load on the phone in a manner, without taking forever as well.
Yeah. So let me address this to you, though. So there may be some people out there listening going, okay, how do I get my website to be a mobile-friendly format? How do I do that?
Well, that's up to your web designer. And there's other tools out there that you can choose themes that are responsive.
Okay.
So we offer, through MyFlock, several responsive themes, and there's a bunch of different ways you can do it.
All right. So there's templates out there people could get that would be responsive, mobile responsive templates. And we have them at myflock.com, but there's other people.
Yeah, and there's also, you need to make sure that the content within those themes or templates is also responsive as well. So
that means you've got to make sure the things you load, pictures you have in there and stuff,
have
to have the
are going to resize properly and that sort of thing. Yep.
Can you have two websites? Can you have one that's mobile responsive and a different one?
Yeah, there's several churches that are doing that, and there's some companies out there that are doing that as well, where it loads a mobile dedicated site. And so all of the links and all the buttons are all finger sized.
Okay.
So that's another, I think, a really good way to go as well.
Okay, good.
That would be, rather than responsive, a reactive site. You would say, oh, here's a mobile device. Let me serve up the optimized mobile content.
So reactive is a different deal
than responsive. Yeah. Responsive will just adjust to the size of the screen.
Right.
With the same content. So if it loads slow on your computer, it's going to load even slower on the phone. Whereas the reactive content will be, you can have dedicated content that only renders on, or that primarily renders on the phone.
On mobile devices, tablets, and things. Okay, awesome. All right. So if you have something to add to this list, or you think we're just crazy out to lunch, we'd love to hear from you either way. Support at StreamingChurch.tv. That's one of our companies, StreamingChurch.tv. We have MyFlock.com, which Steve alluded to just a few seconds ago. Church management systems and website templates at MyFlock.com. We have ChurchAppLive.com, which is the mobile app. And we even have a greeter.church, which we didn't talk about this, but something that people might want to consider, having a live greeter on their website. So when visitors do come, a live greeter could greet them and answer some questions.
I see it as the future. We'll see how whether the church how quickly the church takes up on it.
So they could just go to a website called greeter.church. And that's actually one of our companies. And if you are interested in that, we can give you more information.
Yes,
check out the
we
website.
provide the live greeter for you. Yeah. So we learn about your church, and our greeter takes care of you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that's it. We're done. And we're going to start having some different guests on here, our podcast. We've only had like 1 or 2 guests since we started doing these podcasts, but we're going to start doing guests.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, we used to live stream this rather than podcast, and we had guests.
We had a lot of guests, back in the live streaming days, and we don't do that, but we will have some guests here in the near future, so you won't have to put up with my tired sense of humor and Steve's deadpan responses. So, all right, we're done. If you need to go a hold of us, StreamingChurch.tv. And we'll let you go here. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us today. We hope you have a great day, great evening, and catch us again for another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast. Take care.